Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen meeting for September 14th at 7 o'clock. May I have a roll call, please?
Sure, all five selectmen present, as well as town administrator Derek Sullivan.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Muniz, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Surely would. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Next on the agenda, announcements. Mr. Muniz, do you have any this evening?
Announcements. We're going to have the initial meeting of the solar bylaw committee tomorrow at 3:30. Convene it and get everybody off and rolling. And so that's going on. I guess I should have brought that up in the. Well, I'm not the liaison for that, so that's what's going on. That's my announcement.
Thank you. That's great. Good news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Slavin, announcements.
Thank you. Last week, we were celebrating those of the Jewish faith, what we call the Jewish New Year, which is 180 degrees opposite of what we have for our regular New Year's on January 1st. It's a very serious holiday. Spent a lot of time either in temple doing prayers over 2 days. And it actually was year 5,782. We've been around for a while. And this coming Thursday is Yom Kippur, which is the highest holiday in the Jewish religion, which starts at sundown Wednesday and involves fasting for 24 hours, can't drive, can't carry money, can't do business. And you spend all but 4 hours in that 24 hours at temple. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum, announcements?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tropiano,
Have none.
don't you want to say what you were doing Sunday?
Oh, I guess I could do that. You want me to do that in an announcement?
Yes, please.
But I'll be happy to do it in announcements. Okay, so Sunday I went to an elevation ceremony for a couple of gentlemen. I think it's Liam Scott and Anthony Sharafa. And they, as a matter of fact, it's funny because Anthony played on my son's basketball team and graduated with my son as well. So it was interesting to see him. It was kind of a nice ceremony. I saw both chiefs there, our ex-chief as well as our chief. They were there because, as you know, Liam did a project at the front of the town hall, not front of the police station rather, and it was kind of nice as his you have a community service project, and that was his out of the thing, and it was kind of nice. So they were there to root him on and thank him for that. It was a terrific ceremony. There's a lot of excitement for them and for everybody. And interesting to see. The thing that's amazing to me is, a lot of kids, it's not cool anymore to be in Boy Scouts. When I was a kid, everybody wanted to be in Boy Scouts, everybody. But nowadays, some of the kids will say it's not cool. Well, I hate to tell you, you take a look at these two young gentlemen, and they are really going to go places in their life, and they're really terrific gentlemen. And I have to use that word gentlemen because they are. And if it isn't cool, it ought to be a lot cooler, in my opinion. But it was a terrific time.
Thank you so much for attending. We have one more installation coming up. I think it's in either November or December. I know there's one more Eagle Scout going up this year.
That's I think it's the other troop.
No, it's ours, I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I have no announcements. Citizens' comments. I see. Mr. Schreier, you are not a citizen of the town of Wareham. Therefore, I will not allow you to speak under citizens' comments. Is there anyone else as an attendee who chooses to speak? Let the record show that Richard Bowen has joined the meeting, please, at whatever time it is, okay?
7:05.
7:05, thank you. And I see no other hands raised, so we'll go back to board's comments. Mr. Muniz.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Slavin.
Really quick, just a couple of notices for the public. We had a meeting with GATRA today, Mr. Sullivan and I. They're discussing changing where the main pickup station would be for the bus service, expanding the GATRA service, et cetera, changing some of the routes, and there'll be a public outreach. And when that happens, we'll announce that so the public will be able to get there. And the other piece is Route 6 project for Swiss Beach. We had some discussions a few days ago with Mass DOT, and it looks as if they're going to actually go from Viking Drive through Cormeset and lock all that into one overall project. And they also were doing the bridge of the Weweanic is being redone. So instead of just that one small area, the project actually now expands. And I believe it's probably going to be a 2-lane with a 3rd lane turn during the Shaws and that other area there as well. I'll keep everybody up to date as it goes along. That will also be a public outreach meeting for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Titlebaum,
None.
Mr. Tropiano.
I have nothing today.
Okay, I only have one, but it's one that I held over from last week because we were really jammed for time last week. So I'd like to let everyone know what a great job our Council on Aging is doing for our seniors. It went through some really difficult times in the past with the pandemic, but the center is gradually offering more programs and events. Yep. I'd like to thank Missy Dzik and the staff for their work, the Council on Aging Board, and Municipal Maintenance for recently painting and cleaning the gymnasium in the center. Council on Aging also does a great job at PR in getting the word out. All monthly activities are posted on their Facebook page. If you're not on Facebook, just go to the town's website, to the Council on Aging page, where the Facebook page itself is right there. You can find information also in the Courier and Wareham Week, and the Senior Beacon is available on the website and by mail or email. Senior Beacon is also distributed to all individuals who get Meals on Wheels. For example, this month, 2 programs are being sponsored by the Wareham Cultural Council at the center, a brass quartet performance and a presentation on attracting birds and pollinators, and I think that was already held. All summer, the center coordinated with the Onset Bay Center with monthly programs such as kayaking and clamming. This month is the last program and it is on charts and knot tying. Never could master that one. Exercise programs such as chair yoga, Tai Chi, chair volleyball, and a weekly walking group have started up again. And for people who prefer more sedentary activities, there's cribbage, mahjong, making mats for the homeless, and the weekly coffee and conversation sessions. Bingo should resume sometime soon. Craft classes have also started, and in October, the monthly garden therapy class for the Wareham Garden Club will begin. All dates and times for these programs can be found on Facebook or on the town website. And again, it's just great to see a revitalization of the energy on this committee. Thank you. And now we will go to appointments and reappointments or interviews. Mr. Tropiano.
Okay, I have Jean, I don't know, I didn't see her here, but Jean wants to be a member of the Board of Health, and I move that we approve Jean Connaughton for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2022 as an associate member to the board.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. For the record, the Board of Health did recommend her. She did attend a meeting. One of the things that's interesting about Jean is that she also serves on the Housing Trust. Is that correct, Mr. Muniz? So it's a nice connection.
Yeah, she's on the Wareham Housing Wareham Housing. She's an elected member.
Okay, great.
And
So
she's also on CPC, correct?
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for a roll call vote.
I would like to know, did we reach out to her?
I
don't
made
think-
several phone calls
Okay.
to several people.
No, I mean to let her know that we were appointing her tonight.
Oh, yes, I believe we did.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Mr. Slavin, aye or nay? Appointment.
Aye.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
Yes,
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
myself, yes. Thank you. And the next, we have no licenses and permits, so the next would be town business.
Discussion and possible vote to amend the address and the business entity name of the existing HCA with Verilife and to Pharmacam, 106 Main Street, Wareham.
Okay, Ken raised an interesting point. The medical part only is moving. The recreation is going to stay at 112. So my question, which I fired off to Mr. Bowen maybe an hour and a half ago, because that's when I found out about it. Does the HCA now have to name both of those locations, sir? You're muted, but you said yes. Am I correct? Okay, so then.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Yes, okay. So there will have to be an additional rewrite of the HCA, which I went over with Mr. Buckland at length, but now it'll have to be amended again for the address because it will actually be at two different locations. Mr.
Hold on 1 second. Where do they think they're going to move their medical to?
Medical is going to 106, which is the yellow building.
Really?
I believe. Yep. I
Very
believe.
interesting.
Yep.
Well, they
And
can do that because the medical is in that institutional district and 106 is in that institutional district, so they're good.
That's
Yeah.
correct. And I don't
And
They
have,
bought the building.
they bought the building and there's something like 16 parking lots out back, so parking spaces, which will help the parking problems that have been noted. Okay. Mr.
Good.
Sullivan, do you have a comment on that?
I do. This is inaccurate. We have an HCA.
Can you speak up, please? Can't hear you.
We have an HCA with Verilife.
Mhm.
We have a
Thank
separate agreement for just the medical marijuana, HCA for just the medical marijuana. So that was the first agreement that we ever had, was the HCA for the medical marijuana.
correct.
Then the retail is a separate HCA. So I think it's just the memory of this, the institutional memory, if you will.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we would just be amending the medical marijuana HCA. We would not.
To the
be
new
amending
location.
Retail, correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just the new location.
Okay, so, all right, I understand that now. I will entertain a motion from any one of you if you are clear on what we're doing.
So moved.
Mr. Tropiano made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Slavin. Is there any further discussion on?
yeah, I guess this is a time to discuss things.
Yeah.
I just want to know if, as they're moving to a different location, there has to be any other public hearings on that. And I guess Mr. Sullivan already clarified that there's two separate HCAs for the two separate entities. So we don't have to redraft those. It's not one HCA, there's two separate HCAs, is that correct?
Correct.
And what about them moving to another building? Does there have to be any hearings held on that?
There are requirements for an HCA in general, and whatever those requirements are, I would have to follow them, whatever they are.
Well, actually, this is under the zoning bylaw that allows the uses.
So does that answer your question?
I'm just.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would ask council, but my take is most likely it would have to go to ZBA to look at the
Okay.
parking and the other issues, just like the first one did.
Now, I don't have an issue with them moving.
Okay, hang on 1 second. I'd like to let Shelley Stormo into the meeting, please. She is a representative.
Right.
Yep.
Didn't see her earlier. Sorry about that. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, good
Hi.
evening.
Could you address the questions that have been asked, please?
Sure, absolutely. So thank you, Derek, in terms of the separate HCAs. And we, we've worked really hard with the town to try to find whether it's an alternate location or additional parking or, anything kind of that would assist both with our operations as well as, with the town. So this is the solution. We do have a LOI on that building, on part of that building. In terms of what we need to do at the state level, we have to run a community outreach hearing, which we do all the time in the communities we operate, and we're a known entity. So hopefully, it won't, this will actually improve the experience, we believe, for our medical customers by giving them a private, building to purchase that, and also more than doubling our available parking. But as I recall, Derek, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know we did an outreach hearing for our recreational license. When we opened for medical, it was a by right operation at that time. So we were able to operate by right. We didn't have to go through zoning. I'm not sure that anything has changed since we first went through this process for medical. So, that's kind of my take on going through this with the town over the years.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, do you choose to add to that?
Nothing intelligent.
Okay, Mr. Bowen? You're all set? Okay. Does that answer your questions, Mr. Muniz?
Yeah, again,
you.
I was just, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to amend the address and the business entity name of the existing HCA with Verilife to Pharmacan, 106 Main Street, and as read by Mr. Tropiano. I'm going to call for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
Yes,
Mr. Tropiano, Mr. Tropiano.
I said yes.
Okay, Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you. I didn't hear you, Mr. Tropiano. Sorry. The next item is to disband the group known as Beach and Tourism. I'm going to let Mr. Titlebaum speak to this briefly because it really was his iteration, I guess.
Yeah. I asked the Board of Selectmen when I first got elected back in 2012 if they would appoint a beach and tourism committee to try to promote the town. We had people in there like John Cornish, Linda Burke from the 80 Makepeace Company, Judy Capriccio, quite a diverse group of people in there. Frank Gay was part of it as well, the former GATRA chief, and put together a few guides, did some work. Largely, however, now the work is being done by the redevelopment authority in terms of promoting the town, as well as through the town administrator's office, for example, the slogan and the rebranding and so on and so forth. So this group hasn't met for a while. It's still on the books. I don't think it really needs to be any longer. So Judy asked if she could bring it forward to disband it so that it would be one less thing we had to keep track of, and I would say fine.
Okay, great. Is that your motion, Mr. Titlebaum?
Yep.
May I have a second to disband the group?
Second,
Is there any further discussion?
this is a beach and tourism committee.
Yes,
Yes,
That was created by the Board of Selectmen, correct?
yes.
it was.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
Yes,
Mr. Tropiano,
yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
myself, yes. Thank you. We need to talk about formulating a bylaw review committee, and our bylaws, the reason this is on here, it's been on here for 3 weeks or so. Our bylaws they're interesting. And they may or may not be in a form that is clear to the public. And I think that's probably what we all strive for, is clarity and transparency for the public. So I'd like to next week have your thoughts on how we should appoint this committee, this bylaw committee. how many members, and I would remind you that uneven numbers is a good number, and see what we can come up with and what time frame we can come up with. So I'm going to put that back on the agenda for next week. Do any of you have any comments or questions right now?
I did mention that this was part of what I was interested in doing as one of my goals in connection with trying to digitize and accuratize the town's records, including the bylaws, health regulations, zoning bylaws, all of that, the town charter, and possibly entering into an agreement with a coding service at some point to really get it set so that it can't be screwed up. I did volunteer to go to the town clerk to go through the annual reports, check the warrant articles, check them against the charter and see what that was like for the last 20 years. But that's still not, a totally comprehensive look. But yes, the bylaws, I do think need to be addressed. And, if they're cumbersome, they're broken out into too many different categories. They're not that simple to go through, and they can certainly be changed. So I'd be very interested in doing that.
Okay, I think Mr. Muniz, as I recall, that might have been one of your.
Well, yeah, I think it's great Peter's interested in serving on it. My question is, do we appoint the committee or would it be the moderator, as it's a legislative committee or body? And in the back of the charter, I guess it is, or bylaws, I think on the original, when the original charter was put together, the moderator put together the bylaw committee to review. So that was my only question.
Okay,
And I don't want to step on toes.
yeah.
It was a
So
committee-
let's go ahead, Mr. Tropiano.
It would have to be a committee of town meeting, which hasn't been voted. So she doesn't, otherwise she wouldn't set the committee up. We can set up any bylaw committee we choose.
Okay, great. So what I'll look for in the
Sure.
next several days from each of you, if you don't mind, would just be to send me individually your ideas, whether, how to approach it, who should be, what the membership should consist of, that kind of thing. And we will put it on the agenda for next week. Okay?
That's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
That language, terrible.
Then the next one, I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me, just as a comment, since we do the charter with like a review every 10 years and 9, it goes through basically, the town meeting. I would suggest really that to get this done right, because it's going to take quite a while, is to put it up as an article for town meeting laid out for the fall. And that way it has a set date and everything else, and it's clean. It'll work just like the regular one we do for the charters that you just, worked on yourself recently.
Okay, great.
And we get a good mix of people that way.
Okay, great. So that will be part of your suggestion, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's move on to D, the policy review and possible vote on statement number 91-1, which is a town policy for the registration and regulation of sales agents and sales supervisors. I put this on here because I was looking at an application for something, and we have a policy statement, which you have, and we also have a bylaw that says exactly the same thing. And this is this is an example of how we're double doing stuff, okay? So I don't think we need policy statement 91-1 because it's covered in our bylaws. It's also covered under state law. Mr. Muniz?
I understand what you're saying. And is the process different between the policy statement, which basically sets out the process, and our bylaw, which I think was on page 42? One says the selectmen appoint, one says the chief of police or the police department review the interested individuals, the interested, I guess it's solicitors or
Yep.
individuals who want to go door to door. So pick one or the other. I understand what you're saying. But do we want to be the reviewing authority?
Well, if you look at section 5 of the bylaw, which I think is what you're referring to, it says no one shall solicit contributions and/or there shall be no solicitation by commercial salesmen or their agents while going uninvited house to house in the town of Wareham unless the said person or persons having first registered with the Board of
Board
Selectmen.
of Selectmen,
Right.
correct.
But the state law is pretty clear as well. So
Right, and I think the policy states that they get the rules and regulations by the chief of police or his designee or sales agent.
right, and we take pictures of everybody, and the reason,
Right.
yeah, the reason I'm wary of 91.1 is that you would be required to take pictures of minors if you're selling Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, some of them aren't required to register. But
Right.
that was the only, I read both of them plus the state laws that you sent out, and thanks for the information.
Mhm.
And, I'm not going to hang my hat on either one.
Well, do you want to put it off for a week? I mean, I don't really, this is an example of why we need to look at everything that we've got.
Right. And a lot of times I think policies were put in place to try to streamline the process or to, put some teeth into the process.
And I think the opposite has been the result, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure exactly what happens at all there, Mrs. Whiteside.
Mhm. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Dump it.
Bring it back next week and we'll clear it up.
Okay, great, thank you. And there is a scrivener's error in the next item because it's obviously a discussion and possible vote to include articles in the 2021 annual fall town meeting. And we don't have any, we were given some today at the office, but I did not have time, nor did I ask for anybody to forward those, but those will be before you next week when we are talking about the warrant. We will go to the town administrator's report.
Madam Chair, as of right now, there will be 3 articles submitted from the Division of Natural Resources. They will be submitted tomorrow. And we're finishing up. It's the only outstanding contract we had before, and it would be the 4 persons that was satisfied after the last town meeting. The warrants closed. So we'll bring those forward and send the information to the board. COVID-19, we've had last week, I believe, was about 50. We're up to 61 new confirmed cases with 1 death. Interestingly, this week, 86% of those that contracted COVID that were eligible for vaccines are unvaccinated. So 86% are unvaccinated, which was an interesting statistic to see. So.
Thank you. Leah, you're all set, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah.
Thank you. Liaison reports, Mr. Muniz.
Yeah, I just want to say, and I probably could have done it in another portion of our many opportunities, is that myself and at least one other member of the Affordable Housing Trust attended a webinar put on by the Massachusetts Select Board Association / Mass Municipal Association on, of course, affordable housing. It was a good program, a couple of select people and a couple of individuals who do it professionally, one nonprofit and one for-profit or planning group. So it's just more information, and that was an interesting program. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin? We're in liaisons.
I'm gonna let it go. I had 3 meetings today, but we'll do it next week.
Thank you very much. Mr. Titlebaum?
No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tropiano?
Okay, thank you.
And I'm all set as well. There are no bills or meeting minutes to go over, so we are through with the normal business of the town, but we are planning to go into executive session. So, and I will announce that we will not be returning to open session. We will adjourn from our executive session.
Move to go
To
in.
adjourn on the regular session.
For reason number,
No, I'm adjourning.
I don't want you to adjourn. I want you to,
No, I'm adjourning only the regular session.
No, you can't.
can't do that.
Can't do it, never mind.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
move
someone else go ahead, make the motion then.
executive session for litigation, reason number 3, and what is it, reason 6? Okay,
Yeah, reason 3 and reason 6. May I have a second to that motion?
Second,
Second,
Motion made by Tropiano and seconded by Slavin. Going to go for a roll call, please. Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Titlebaum,
yes.
Tropiano,
yes.
myself, yes. So we are in executive session 500.